The people of Israel were determined to have a king, although it was for the wrong reason, as we've already discovered. They wanted a king to be like the nations around them, whereas the Lord wanted them to have a king who would be after his own heart, as we read in chapter 13, a king that would be like God. So the Lord had to teach his people an important lesson, and he did that by giving them the kind of king that they wanted. We're going to read about it in 1 Samuel chapter 9 and verses 15 to 17. Now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, Behold the man whom I spoke to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. When someone is determined to follow a wrong course of action, there may be no other way to help them to see their error than to let them have their own way. I think that the Lord adopted this approach in the previous chapter when he said, Hearken unto their voice, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. Verse 9 of chapter 8. In selecting Saul, the Lord was identifying the kind of king that they would have wanted. It was not the king that he had in mind. That was David, as we'll see later, in the will of the Lord. Saul was impressive. This is how it's described in verse 2. A choice young man and a goodly. And there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward he was higher than any of the people. We might just say, wow. Saul could have been up to 7 feet tall, according to this description. His handsome looks and his size made him stand out. In terms of physical appearance, he was all the king that any nation could want. But what was Saul doing when we are introduced to him? In verses 3 and 4, he's on an errand to find asses, donkeys. Donkeys were notable in the Old Testament because they were an unclean animal. They couldn't be used for sacrifice and worship. They couldn't even be used for food. Later on, when we encounter David, he is caring for sheep, an Old Testament description of God's people. But Saul was in pursuit of unclean things, things that God's people should have had little interest in. When they couldn't find the donkeys, Saul suggested that they just go home. But a servant suggested that they enlist the help of Samuel. In verse 6 he says, There is in this city a man of God, and he is an honourable man. It seems that Saul may have neither known of Samuel or known where he lived, nor indeed had any inclination to seek his help. Saul's external appearance may have been impressive, but his inner man was sadly lacking when it came to the things of God. There is an important lesson to be learned here. Later on, the Lord reprimanded Samuel for being impressed by appearance or height. And he reminded him in chapter 16, verse 12, that man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. God is more interested in the inner man than the outer man. Spiritual qualities are most important in serving God in whatever capacity, not physical attributes. We need to develop our inner life with God if we're going to be of use in His work. And I pray that we might be encouraged to do that and not simply to be impressed with physical or material things.